Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Groot-Niblink, and I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy, and contributor to Yahoo Fantasy. In this podcast, Blake and I are going to give you all the best streamers and ad options for next week so you can start planning early. Let's hit it. Now, of course, I have your friend and my best friend, Blake Creamer, here with me. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
Buddy, it's good to see you. It's always good to see you. Always good to see my best friend. I only get to see Nate 3 times a week, and damn, it's not enough, right? So, yeah, things are good though. I did want to just shout out everybody who did contribute to the Movember that we were doing there. It's now over. You can see I grew a little beard here. Wife is much happier now. My chin definition per 60 is elite now, so that's good. Yeah, and buddy, I also wanted to just talk quickly about that Spotify Wrapped that's been going on for the podcast. That's been sick. And I just really want to shout out all of our listeners and people that have been sending us their screenshots of their top fans. And this, I can't even believe it. Like it's baffling to me, like that people are listening to this and getting something out of it. I just love it. Like I would do this for nobody. That's kind of where I'm at. So, I'm just really grateful for our fans out there. And it's been really awesome to see.
Yeah, I totally echo that. It's been really great to see, just a tangible way that people are definitely tuning in. We can see like the numbers of people, but see that people have literally spent thousands of minutes listening to the podcast is just, it's pretty wild when you actually stop for a second and think about it. So we definitely appreciate all of our listeners out there. All right, let's get this started. Let's start with some newsies. First off, a little bit of a downer here, but we did learn today, it came out that the reason Dylan Larkin has been away from the team is because he and his wife experienced the loss of their unborn child. This one hits a little close to home for me. I tweeted it out today, but my wife and I have had 5 pregnancies and ended up with 2 children out of those 5 pregnancies. I just wanted to speak up, and I know that that this platform here is by and large going out to a lot of dudes around my age, and so I just want to say, if that's you out there, just know that you're not alone. If you need somebody to talk to, my DMs are always open. You can find me in a lot of spots online. So if you ever need somebody to talk about with any of this stuff, I just think that men in general should really speak out a little bit more and be a little bit more open about how they're feeling, because a lot of times we have the tendency to bottle it up and put it away. So I had some really great engagement, lots of people giving their experiences as well. So it's been at least something positive to come from it, but definitely feeling for Dylan Larkin and his family. Blake, I'll kick it back to you. Take us through the rest of the newsies here.
How the hell am I supposed to follow that, Nate? What do you? But yeah, that's really great stuff, man. And just such a nice tweet you put out. And I echo those sentiments as well. So shout out to Dylan Larkin. Hopefully he's back better than ever. And, all the best to his family. All right, let's talk about some other news here. We got to talk about big Dougie Hamilton. Damn it, dog. He tore his pec. Sorry, I just knocked my water bottle on my foot. He tore his pec somehow. So that's terrible news for the Devils. He's out indefinitely right now. He did have surgery. So, yeah, I mean, this Luke Hughes obviously was rostered and is a great player, but this really just solidifies his role on the team. Like there's no one coming for that power play one, right? Like, I always did think in the back of my mind, like Dougie will get power play one back. That'll be fine, right? But no, he's going to be out indefinitely. So Luke Hughes stock goes up, which is already pretty high. And then they called up Simon Nemec, which, was a really nice move, and he's a great blue chip prospect. But this guy comes in and plays 22-30 in his first game. He got 2 assists, 3 shots, a hit. Looked pretty good out there. So that put that guy on your radar for sure. I mean, he's going to be taking over that spot on power play 2 for the Devils. And this deployment, like that's that's unexpected for his first game. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with someone on Discord here, like they were asking about Cam York or Simon Nemec or keep Eric Gustafsson or something like that. And yeah, I was saying I chose York in that case just because I think the role is more secure and it's a bit safer. But I don't know, in terms of ceiling, Nemec might be he's a good option. Like it's kind of potato. So I don't know, where are you at with Simon Nemec? Do you have any kind of insight on this player, Nate?
Yeah, I've heard some people talk about it. I know Victor Nuno has said that he doesn't see a super high offensive ceiling for him. Um, but yeah, I mean, just playing in New Jersey, right? You figure power play 2 in New Jersey still a decent spot. If he's going to skate 22 minutes a night in New Jersey, like he's just going to fall
Yep.
backwards into points somehow. So, yeah, I'm definitely interested. I think I'd agree with you taking York over Nemec, at least at this point. If
Yeah.
Nemec keeps this up, obviously, for a number of games and really starts to solidify a role, then yeah, definitely I start to get more and more interested. But I think at the moment, York getting back on power play 1 in Philadelphia, that kind of makes me lean that way there.
Absolutely. All right. Confirmed. It's confirmed by Nate, everyone. So I mean, we did the right thing. All right. Let's move on. Still with the Devils. Timo Meier returned today. Didn't do too much, but did get 5 shots on goal. That's excellent. And he got big deployment. 21:30 he played tonight. So that's blast off time for Timo Meier. If he's going to play over 20 minutes on the New Jersey Devils, he was playing with Jack Hughes and Toffoli, I think, for most of the night. That is A-OK. All right. So I think Timo's going to be totally fine if he continues on with that deployment. So that's good news there. Moving over to Seattle Kraken. Release the Kraken. They released it on Jaden Schwartz's upper body. I don't know. That didn't work. It was a terrible segue, but
Oh no.
yeah, that sounds, we can edit that out in post, but that's fine. Yeah. He's out 6 weeks with that. I'm just hearing it back in my mind. It's just not, they released the Kraken on Jaden Schwartz's upper body. I'm going to say it again. All right. 6 weeks he's out. This definitely is going to, solidify the role for players in the top 6 there in Seattle. Guys like, the Jerk Store, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and other players like that. So also, and I'm going to butcher this man's name, but it looks like Ty Cartier.
Cartier, I think.
Cartier, sure. Ty Cartier. If your last name is Cartier and you name your kid Ty, what's the thinking here? What's you know what I mean? It's like my last name's Johnson. I think I'm going to name my kid John. This is John Johnson. You had a million options. Anyways, we're digressing. But Ty Cartier is getting a look on power play there, power play 1/1A, whatever they do in Seattle. So keep an eye on that guy because his metrics actually look pretty good. He's a limited minute guy. Even if he's getting power play time, he's not getting a ton of deployment at even strength there, but he shoots. He's a shot monster. He's like Mikey Isamont or like Arthur Kaliev from like 2 years ago. That's the kind of profile I think this player has. So anyways, nice looking player. Let's move over to Samuel Montembeault III, Esquire. One of the goalies from, I don't know, I'm going with that. One of the goalies from Montreal Canadiens signed a 3-year extension with the Habs, carrying $3.15 million salary. So just an interesting piece of news because obviously they got a 3-headed monster there in Montreal. What does this mean for their goalies, do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I think it just probably solidifies that they'll end up moving Jake Allen at some point, and that Montembeault is likely the guy they're going to hang on to, and probably gets a good run of starts at some point this year. So, yeah, it's definitely just making me think that, if there's a good streaming schedule for Montreal, you think he's going to get a couple starts that week, then it might be a good week to pick up Montembeault just in case the trade goes through that week, and now all of a sudden you have a bona fide starter. So, yeah, Montembeault, like under the hood, like he looks pretty decent. I don't like to predict goalie performance, but I'm pretty interested in anybody who's going to get any kind of volume and could get hot. We saw it last year, so I'm not one to say that he couldn't do it again.
Yeah, for sure. I love that name too. Samuel Montembeault. See, that's why I'm like Montembeault III, Esquire. He sounds like a character from Downton Abbey. Do you ever watch Downton Abbey, Nate?
I've not, no.
Don't lie. All right, come on. This is all
I've
right. Well,
watched Bridgerton. Does that count?
Yeah, he could be in Bridgerton too. That's fine. All right, we're on the same page here. Staying with the Montreal Canadiens, Alex Newhook could be out for a little while. He fell awkwardly into the boards in their last game there, had to be helped off the ice. So that show ain't no good. It's the usual business there in Montreal with just a ridiculous amount of injuries. So yeah, but that's really it for the newsies. We don't got anything else. We got to get to streaming, and we got to do it now. Nate, what do you got for us?
All right, let's dive right into the schedule. We got Monday, we got 6 games. We got Tuesday with 8 games, Wednesday 4 games, Thursday 13 games, Friday 3 games, Saturday 12 games, Sunday 8 games. So in total here we got 54 games. It's a normal week, but actually trending a little bit towards the heavy side in total, which is pretty nice. Gives us lots of options. The off nights are not quite so off as they sometimes are, which is really nice for giving us streaming options, as we'll get into. Unfortunately, no teams have a Monday, Tuesday back to back to open this week, which is just another scheduling quirk, I guess. But yeah, it would have been really nice, especially since they're a 6 game Monday and an 8 game Tuesday, just to have a back to back to open the week. That would have been awesome to get a head start with your streaming. Unfortunately, don't have any of that this week, but what we do have is 6 different teams with Monday, Wednesday off nights to open the week. It's less important this week just because Tuesday is not a heavy night with the only the 8 games on Tuesday, but it's still a nice way to open your week with some off nights. You got Carolina, Dallas, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Tampa Bay, and Vegas with that schedule. And then you got 4 teams with Friday, Sunday off nights to end the week. That's a little bit more important. Gets you away from the heavy Saturday there with the 12 games. And those teams are Columbus, Edmonton, Florida, and Minnesota. And then in the middle of the week, you got 4 more teams that have Wednesday and Friday off nights to get you around that Thursday 13 game slate. Those 4 teams are Edmonton, Florida, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis. So there's lots to choose from here. You got multiple 3 games played, but 3 off night teams as well, which is probably just as good as the 4 games played, 3 off night teams. Yeah, just terrific ways to split up the week with 2 ads for 1 streaming spot. You can get one of these 6 teams with the Monday, Wednesday, then go to one of the 4 teams with the Friday, Sunday. There's lots of ways to butter your bread this week. All right, so should be easy enough to stream away from the heavy nights. No excuses. Get those benches bared for the heavy Thursday and Saturday. There's only 2 of those super heavy ones this week, so yeah, really try to get those benches bare for those heavy nights and try to lean into the streamers this week. Blake, why don't you take us into the worst teams to stream and to drop players from?
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. First off, I'm excited about this week. Like, I love weeks like this. You could almost stream every day besides those 2 busy nights. And even on those nights, like sometimes you can get a defenseman in, or if you have utility spots, you can make that happen as well. So yeah, this is gonna be good. Definitely set your lineups and see where the gaps are and make it happen, everybody. All right. The worst teams to stream from, we got a couple of these guys. The Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs both have 2 game weeks with 0 off nights. So that's not good, right? That's gonna be rough to hold some of these fringe guys, right? Like both those teams play just on the Thursday and the Saturday. That stinks. So, I mean, in terms of players you're looking at dropping, let's start with Boston. You're looking at the Coiler, Charlie Coyle. You got to get him off your, Charlie Coyle, what is he doing? First off, he's on a 71-point pace. How is this? What's going on here? I had him in my sell high show. I mean, if you could sell high on Charlie Coyle, is there anyone out there who's like, Charlie Coyle, I want a piece of that now. You're like, well, who do you got? Come on. I like that butter my bread. I'm going to start using that. Butter my bread, my man. I've got the Coiler over here if you want the Coiler. All right. But yeah, he's got three goals and an assist in his last 5. So pretty nice and good metrics to back it up. Anyways, you're dropping Charlie Coyle. Jake DeBrusk, yeah, you're dropping him. Get out of my sight. JVR, see you later. And then Pavel Zacha is an interesting one, right? Because he's 64% rostered on Yahoo, but he's top line, top power play. That's not going anywhere. Underlying metrics for Zacha are not great, but the deployment is decent and the opportunity is really good. I don't know. What are you doing with Pavel Zacha here in a 2-game week, Nate?
I'm considering it for sure. I'm considering dropping him. It really depends on the other options, but if it's like if I'm big behind on if I'm way behind on the number of games played and I can get 2 extra games played this week by dropping Zaka, then that's a pretty big move to be able to make. So I'm definitely considering it. If there's a priority free agent out there who might turn into a long-term hold for you that might be able to replace Zaka, then yeah, I think I'm interested. Zaka is really just a function of the players around him to me. So
Yep.
if his deployment ever went away for whatever reason, trade or whatever the case may be, then Zaka would have like very, very little intrinsic value to me in and of himself. It's really just about the deployment. So I don't hold Zaka in the highest regard. I just kind of know that he's the one who's been occupying that spot and that he's therefore valuable for fantasy. But if there's somebody out there on the wire, and obviously we'll get to some of those names, but if there's somebody out there on the wire that's going to get me plus 2 games played on Zaka this week and I need a win this week, like I think I'm going to do it.
Yeah, especially this week. Like Nate
Yeah.
said, there are options out there that are legit. It's not just like, oh, I'll stream him in for a couple games and then get rid of him. Like you might be able to hold some of these streamers. So, but we'll get to that. All right, hold your horses, everybody. All right, we got to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. All right, Nate, your favorite team. All right,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, 2 games this week. That's fine. Yeah, there's obvious drops, right? Matthew Nyes, we're going to get rid of him. Tyler Bertuzzi, these are guys you can obviously drop, and then anybody else in the bottom 6. See you later. Get out of my sight. Yeah, like is Bertuzzi a question mark to you, Nate? Because to me, I'm kicking him to the curb, no question.
Yeah, I'm fine to get rid of Bertuzzi. No questions asked.
There you go. Thank you for your service, Tyler. All right. Made me think of Tyler Durden from Fight Club. I don't know. That's the way my brain works, and I'm on a podcast, so I can't think of a good Fight Club quote. I don't know. That's fine. You're getting an insight into what my brain operates. All right, let's move on. There are also 9 teams that play 3 games with 0 off nights, but we're not going to go through all of those. Not 0 off nights. Sorry, what did I say? Yeah, 3 games
One
played
off
with
time.
1 off night. Yeah, so there are 9 teams there. I mean, you're going to be able to get some of these players in on some of those nights anyway. So, but I'm not going to go in there. We're now going to move on to the best teams to stream, or as I like to call it, Cream's Dream Streams. All right. That came directly from a YouTube comment. So, see, everybody, you can make a difference. All you have to do is put yourself out there, and now you're part of a podcast. All right. A really badass podcast. All right. That's how we do here. All right. Let's get into it. We got a couple teams here that are great streaming teams right off the bat. It's the St. Louis Blues and the Vegas Golden Knights. They both play 4 games this week with 3 off nights. So that's excellent. Yeah, in terms of St. Louis, what did they do? St. Louis plays, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then they have the Friday, Saturday back to back. And then Vegas, Monday, Wednesday start, and then they have the Saturday, Sunday back to back. So let's get into some of the players there that you can stream on these teams. Looking over at St. Louis, you could get that beefcake, that beef dip sandwich. Braden Shen, he's 41% rostered. Yeah, he's there. All right, and he's doing stuff. What the hell? I talked about Braden Shen on my Sell High show like 2 weeks ago, and then he fell off a cliff, and then now he's kind of put a couple points back on the board. So he's on Power Play 1. I think it's a very reasonable stream this week. Definitely should be rostered for the schedule, right? And then how about that legend, that little pinball, Torrey Krug? Nate, you got anything to say about this man?
Yeah, I honestly think that Torrey Krug is showing something now, and it's not just been a blip. It's been about 3 weeks of him, yeah, stepping up his game to pretty solid levels. You can see the last 5 games, 21st in shots per 60 and 16th in individual scoring chances for per 60 amongst all defensemen. Defensemen? Man,
Defensemen.
that's a new one.
All right, that's nice.
Uh, On ice numbers pretty good too. 66th in Corsi 4 per 60, 41st in scoring chances 4 per 60. The season long numbers are slowly creeping up towards those levels as well. I'm starting to believe a little bit on Torrey Krug. Yeah, averaging over 21 minutes a night pretty consistently now. And yeah, as long as they're running this like true top power play unit, that's really going to bump Torrey Krug up as well, because previously a lot of his value was kind of curtailed by the fact that they'd run a true 50-50 split. In some games, like he would just not get anything.
Yep.
But also, yeah, it really just seems like he's taken a much more shot heavy approach, and it's really working for him this year. Maybe it's a change to the power play. I haven't really dug into why that might be, but whatever he's doing, it's working right now, and it's actually been working for a good little stretch here. So I'm starting to believe a little bit on Torrey Krug.
Lovely. Yeah, that's a great stream for this week for sure. An underrated one as well. Like I follow this stuff really well, but like Krug's kind of gone under the radar for me too. Like, and then you dig in finally, you're like, oh, Like he's actually doing stuff out there, and he's been doing it for a little while, like you said. So he's 28% rostered on Yahoo, so he's out there. So go take a look. And then we got to talk about, hey, neighbor. Jake Neighbors, all right, he's out there, 11%. That's Mr. Rogers, all right, for all you youngins. All right, Mr. Rogers is a legend. Shout out to Mr. Rogers. Yeah, Jake Neighbors, he's getting the power play one treatment. He's getting the first line treatment. This is what is going on. Yeah, he's playing with Robert Thomas and Pavel Buchnevich. And then, yeah, he's cooking on the top power play as well. So nice little stretch for Jake Neighbors as well. What has he got? 5 goals and 1 assist in the last 5 games. Damn. Obviously, he's crushing with his shooting percentage. He's shooting 38.5%. That's going to come down. All right. But, I mean, can he hold this deployment? The other thing is he's, in the last 5 games, he's averaged just under 18 minutes, but he's had a couple games with 20 minutes in there as well. So I like to see that. It's just it's a little flimsy for me. I don't know. But at 11% with this great schedule, I think it's a no-brainer. Like this guy should be on a team for sure for this week. I don't know. Do you have anything on Neighbors there, Nate?
Yeah, it's really starting to look legit. Last 2 games over 20 minutes. Yeah, top line, top power play, all that stuff's there. All the underlying metrics starting to line up. He hits, he shoots, he blocks a little bit. Like he's really doing it all the last little bit here. 45th in individual scoring chances for per 60 and 45th in on ice scoring chances for per 60 over his last 5 here. Yeah, I don't know how long it'll last, but he's clearly feeling it right now. And the underlying numbers say that he's actually doing the stuff to be worthy of those points. So I think he's definitely worth grabbing for this terrific. Like, this is what I'm actually really looking for, I should say. Like, when people
Yeah.
talk to me about like all these like breakout players that they want to get, like, I'm rarely taking big swings on breakout players who have like a hot streak and just hoping that it sustains. What I like to find is a Jake Neighbors where the breakout is aligning with the really good streaming schedule, and then I'll grab them then, and I'll make them a priority. I'll grab them, on the Saturday the week before or something if I have to. But I'll prioritize him then, and then I'll get him through the schedule there, and then maybe he turns into a season-long hold, right? So maybe we've got that with Neighbors, maybe we don't, but this is the week to find out.
Yeah, love that. I think this is kind of the player I was thinking about with Zaka, right? If you're going to drop Zaka, you pick up a player like Neighbors who
Yeah.
does he roll on power play one or even just in the top 6, like, 17 to 19 minutes a night, Jake Neighbors. Yeah, that's pretty good because he's putting some periffs up there for sure. And he's on the power play one. So anyways, interesting player. Thank you, neighbor. And then we got to talk about Kevin Hayes. Do we? Well, I'm talking about him. He's 8% rostered. He's got 4 points in his last 5 games. So thank you, Kevin Hayes. That's very nice. So he's out there as well, 8%. That's those are kind of who you're looking at there in St. Louis. Let's move over to the Vegas Golden Knights. There's not as many options, but there's some decent ones, I guess. Braden McNabb, certainly in category leagues. This guy's 47% rostered. He's a rump roast, this man. He does stuff. He smashes people and he blocks the hell out of some shots. So yeah, Braden McNabb, if you're looking for that kind of thing, or if your league, values banger weighting and stuff like that, he's out there, 47%. And then we got, come on, Bobby, let's go party. Ivan Barbashev, he's out there. Yeah, 28%. Ivan Barbashev, playing top line, right? Where is he on the power play? Damn, I don't have this up here, but is he getting power play one there, Nate?
No, it's
Barbie?
been pretty consistently Stone, Carlson, Marchessault, Eichel on the top power play for the last little bit. So, yeah, he's not actually on either unit at the moment. So, yeah, I'm not personally super interested in Barbashev. I'm honestly not super interested in any of these Vegas options.
No.
I'd go with most of the St. Louis guys over any of the Vegas guys. And also, I think St. Louis's schedule is marginally better just because their off nights are all Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then you can still leave yourself open to make a Sunday move if you need to.
Yeah, you can pick up a Vegas player maybe for their back-to-back Saturday, Sunday if someone's out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, Barbashev, whatever. How about Chandler Bing Stevenson? Yeah, this guy's terrible in fantasy, but he's getting lots of deployment. I'm gonna talk some Yang on Chandler Stevenson. But yeah, 26% rostered. He's on power play one. So I'd definitely go Stevenson over McNabb and Barbashev. In my opinion, I think he's gonna get the best chance of getting offense, right? I mean, if we're looking at offense.
Yeah, well, just a quick note: Carlson has actually supplanted Stevenson on power play one, so he's not even getting that anymore. So that makes him even less desirable.
God, Dang. I mean, I was trying to just find something positive to say about Chandler's team. Every party has a pooper. All right. And that pooper is Nate. All right. Let's agree on that. Everybody with me? Give me a heck yeah. All right. Do it in the chat. That's fine. Let's move on. We got to talk about three teams that have 3 games played and 3 off nights. And they are the Edmonton Oilers, the Florida Panthers, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. All right. And let's see what they're doing. So Edmonton, just real quick, they play, they're off Monday, Tuesday. They play Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So that's a nice little schedule, right? You could pick up a player or leave a player for your Monday, Tuesday, and then stream in an Edmonton player for Wednesday. That's something you could do. Pittsburgh, what are they doing? Yeah, they're playing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that's really nice. Kind of what Nate said about the St. Louis stream as well. And then the Florida Panthers, what did they do? Oh, I'm not prepared. All right. Yeah, they play Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So anyways, that's what they're doing there. But we got to get into some of these players. So let's talk about Edmonton first. And actually, Nate, you talked about this player. So I'll let you take Edmonton here. What do you got to say about the first player there in Edmonton?
Yeah, Matthias Ekholm is somebody that I'm growing more and more interested in. In the last 5 games here, he's got a couple goals, 3 points, averaging over 21 minutes a night, 10th in shots per 60 amongst defensemen in the last 5 games here. 18th in Corsi 4 per 60, 36th in scoring chances 4 per 60. That's going to happen when you're on the ice with McDavid and Draisaitl all the time. So those underlying numbers are looking pretty solid. Throughout the 21 games he's played, actually. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Ekholm's going to like change your week or something, but if you're in a deeper league or if you're in a league that assigns a pretty good weight to shots, like Ekholm's a very legitimate option for this week for sure.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that gets you marginally better, right? It's not a slam dunk, but it's a supplementary move that I think is pretty strong, right? And I don't know about you, Nate, but I find it a lot easier to stream in defensemen. Like there's usually just more spots, more roster spots for you to get them in. So I end up dropping a forward and getting a defenseman, and that seems to work out. So I think Ekholm's a great option. And then Connor Brown, that beautiful sleeper from the preseason. This guy was going to pop for 65 points. Damn. How about 1 point in 16 games? Damn. All right.
Yeah.
Whatever. If you could get Connor Brown. He's playing with Draisaitl and Evander Kane. You got to take a gander at Evander. But Connor Brown, he's doing nothing out there. So that's a real deep league option. So let's move on to Florida. We got to talk about Oliver Ekman-Larsson and how the mighty have fallen. He performed admirably without Montour in the lineup, but his run is done. He's 35% rostered, but like if you look at his ice time since Montour's been back, it's right back to like 17 to 19 minutes, like brutal stuff. He did have a 13-minute game in there, but that's the game where he got a 10-minute misconduct. That game against Ottawa where they were just going bonkers on each other. So I think, you have to temper expectations here. This guy is now a 17 to 19-minute defenseman with power play too and access to really good offensive players, but he's not going to do what he was able to do before. So that's that. And this is this. We got to talk about Erod, Evan Rodriguez. He is getting line 1 deployment there with Barkov and Reinhart. That legend, the Sex Panther, Sam Reinhart. Beautiful man. Made with real bits of Panther. Yeah. So that's a nice piece of deployment. And he's on power play too. So he's usually good for shots, but he hasn't really been doing that this year, has he, Nate?
Yeah, it's been a little bit up and down. Obviously, he had the massive start to the season. Everybody got super excited about him, and then he fell off a cliff, which is what he tends to do. And then the last little bit, he's been decent again, I guess. 63rd in shots per 60 the last 5 games, averaging just over 15 minutes a night. You can do worse than Rodriguez. He'll probably run into a point or two in those 3 games.
There you go. And then you know who else is out there? Sam Bennett Dyson, Cyberdyne Systems Model 101. That's Terminator 2. Sam Bennett's out there. He's 18% rostered. That is excellent. Go get yourself some Sam Bennett. I love this player. His line is underachieving to a ridiculous degree in terms of conversion. Like, obviously, he's centering Matt Tkachuk and Carter Verhaeghe. That's ridiculous. That's insane deployment. He's got power play 1, I believe. He's doing everything except for converting, which is kind of the norm for Sam Bennett, but it's not the norm for Matt Tkachuk, right? So Matt Tkachuk is a ridiculous buy low. He's going to start scoring, and he's going to start scoring in bunches, and Sam Bennett's going to be a big piece of that, in my opinion. He's just going to run into some points, like you said there, Nate. So anyway, Sam Bennett is out there. I'm a big fan of that player. I don't know, any other players on Florida you're looking at, Nate, or anything on Sam Bennett?
No, I'm not really looking at any of the other guys. Anton Lundell had like one good game, but everything else has been pretty bad, and that's kind of been the way Lundell has gone for most of the past couple of years. So um, he's the only one I'd even really consider in the much deeper league. But yeah, Bennett is definitely the guy to target from Florida for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Underwhelming, the rest of the Florida players, aren't they? Like Itu Luostarinen, I think that's how you say his name. Yeah, what? I mean, he's just going for a skate out there. And it's so easy for me to say. I'm literally in my basement right now, talking to a computer. All right, this man's a professional hockey player. I don't know where I'm going with this. Let's move on. Pittsburgh Penguins. We got to talk about Riley Smith at 42% rostered. This is a great option. Yeah, with their schedule, like, yeah, this is a player that should definitely be rostered here. He's on the second line there with Malkin, Big Gino, and he's not getting power play one. Rust is getting that deployment now. So, but there's always the chance like they throw him back up there. Like I think Rust and Smith are kind of interchangeable. They tend to do that, but Rust has been getting the run there on power play one lately. So I don't know. What do you think about Riley Smith there, Nate?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, and lately the returns have not been very good. Just one assist his last 5 games. Underlying numbers are pretty terrible: 276th in shots per 60, 341st in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. Yeah, he had a little hot stretch and then has gone really, really quiet here the last little bit. But yeah, in a week where he's going to get you 3 off nights, definitely a guy that you can look to as long as he's on that second line with Malkin.
Yep, sure. And then a guy we're throwing in here just for fun, Lars Eller. You remember this man? 1% rostered on Yahoo. Yeah, 1 goal in 5 games. I mean, that's not very good, but he is centering the second power play there. He's third line center, so he can do the thing. I mean, he's out there as well, but other than that, it's slim pickings there in Pittsburgh. So anywho, let's move on. Oh man, we got a beefer of a section here. So let's just fly through this. We got a bunch of teams that play 4 games with 2 off nights. And those teams are the Carolina Hurricanes, Columbus Blue Jackets, Dallas Stars, Minnesota Wild, Montreal Canadiens, Seattle Kraken, Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Washington Capitals. All right. So we're going to do a bit of rapid fire here and get through some of these players. I want to talk about this. All right. Let's start with Carolina. Nothing could be finer. How about the bunt cake? Michael Bunting at 32%. Nate, what do you think about Michael Bunting? Because you obviously watched him a little bit there in Toronto. Has he been able to sort of carry over the same type of play, or how has he changed a little bit since he's been to Carolina?
Yeah, I think he's still kind of the same guy playing power play 2. Last little bit, he's been hot, so take that for what it's worth. He's
Yep.
also only been getting like 13.5 minutes a night, so that's
Yep.
not great. Underlying numbers are not that great. On the season, he's pacing for 59 points with 19 goals, which kind of feels about right-ish.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think Bunting kind of is what he is. He is exactly this, a streamer that you pick up for a week and then you kick him to the curb again.
There you go. Michael Bunting, thank you very much for your service. Also, another streamer there from Carolina, Jesperi Kotkaniemi. All right, there's a lot of vowels in there. He's available as well. I mean, I don't trust this player. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
such a strange thing when, Montreal did that. Like they gave him the offer sheet and all this. Like, or no, it was Carolina that gave him the offer sheet, right? But it never made sense to me, like the amount of money that he's making for what he's bringing to the table. Like, I don't know. What's your take on this player?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, obviously, Carolina, the situation, a lot of these guys have good underlying numbers, at least the on ice numbers. 23rd in
Yeah.
Corsi 4 per 60 the last 5, and 18th on the season is Jesperi Kotkaniemi. So you got to figure that, like, a bunch of these points are just going to happen for him by virtue of the fact that a lot of pucks are going at the net all the time when he's on the ice. But he's definitely not somebody who's super efficient or drives the play a lot himself. So he's really dependent on the people around him to do the scoring. Right now, he's rocking with Svechnikov and Teravainen at even strength, which is pretty solid. So, yeah, deeper league play for sure, but definitely not one I'd turn my nose up if I had to.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And this is kind of nice because Columbus had that amazing schedule this week here. The perfect schedule, 4 games, 4 off nights. You can just roll these players right into your next week. It's going to be awesome. And they've been doing stuff, actually, like players like, well, where are they? They're way down the list. So I'll start at the top. So we threw Patrick Laine in there because he's 52% rostered. Dang. Yeah, this has been pretty rough for Laine. It hasn't been a good stretch. He has been able to put a couple goals on the board here in the last 2 games, but the ice time, 13:03 and then 12 minutes, 40 seconds in the win tonight. Like, that's not going to cut it, especially with this type of player. Like, he's lumbering around out there. He doesn't look right. I don't think mentally he's right based on kind of what's gone on there. So, yeah, I mean, you're holding Patrick Laine for this week again, but 52%, that's crazy. This is a player that I was pretty high on at the start of the season, and it just hasn't gone his way. So definitely make sure he's rostered there. A fun fact, Boone Jenner is the highest rostered player on the Columbus Blue Jackets at 70%. We did it, everybody. We did it. You did it. I did it. It feels good. This man used to be 36% rostered, all right? And now look at him, all right? And also, they just had a bobblehead night for Boone Jenner. Did you know about this, Nate?
I saw that. Yeah, people were posting about it in the Discord.
I got to get my hands on one of those bobbleheads, all right? Seriously, all right? I'll put it right up over there. It'll be visible the whole time, for our YouTube watchers, all right? So anyways, I'm digressing. Shout out to Boone Jenner. So Laine, you got to roster him. Ivan Provorov, I can't think of anything to call Ivan Provorov. That's not kind. All right. The guy's a dingus, but yeah, 32% rostered. He's doing the thing. Hashtag. So I like that. But some of these other guys are who I want to get your take on, Nate. So can you talk to me a little bit about, let's talk about 4 players. So Adam Fantilli, Kent Johnson, Dmitry Voronkov, and Yegor Chinakhov. What do you think about these 4 players and how would you rank them?
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation at this point. They kind of blended the lines once again, which it didn't really feel like they needed to because they've actually been playing pretty well. But again, this worked. So, yeah, it's really hard to say exactly how the lines are going to shake out, which is really, in my mind, going to affect how I'm going to value some of these players. Yeah, like Marchenko, Voronkov, and Chinikov were the line that got the least even strength ice time in this game, which is kind of nuts. But yeah, Laine, Danforth, Fantilli got the second most. It was pretty close, like between them. Obviously, the Jenner line got the most with Gaudreau and Kent Johnson up there. Um, it's been really really tough to just like game to game even understand what it's going to be like. Obviously, Pascal Vincent
Coach of the
coaching
year, Jack Adams
yeah
trophy coming, buddy.
yeah coaching is a little hard out there is Pascal Vincent, but yeah, in the last little bit, it's been working. So who am I to say that it can't work? But yeah, it's been a little bit polarizing for sure. Like Boone Jenner skated 21 minutes, Gaudreau was up at 18:36, and then it really starts to drop off after that. Like some of the PK guys got a bunch of minutes, but beyond the PK guys, then it really started to fall off. Like Fantilli was 13, Laine, as you mentioned, 12:40 in this game. Kent Johnson 12:31, despite being on the top line. Like it's really really tough to really glean something right now from all these players. So in the end, when that's the case, I'm probably just gonna go based off what I think of the player's talents. I still think Marchenko's the most talented of the group of Columbus Blue Jackets here that are widely available. I will say Chinikov has turned my head a little bit with some of the production that he's been able to put up, and some of his underlying metrics are starting to peak a little bit as well. Voronkov has had a nice little stretch, so I'd probably put him somewhere in there as well. Fantilli's the odd one here to me. Like, he had a goal in this game here, but that's really been all he's been able to do over the last little bit, and the underlying metrics have been pretty tough. So it's really tough to understand. I do think like he's probably the most naturally talented of all these players, but he's still a rookie. And if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Rookies will have these major ups and downs throughout their seasons. We see it every single year. So I still think Fantilli has that upside, but it's really really hard to trust him for the upcoming week. So yeah, if to sum it all up, I guess if I had to rank the guys that are widely available, I'd still put Marchenko at the top there. And then I'd probably go Chinikov, Voronkov, Fantilli, and Johnson.
Bang. Oh, I like that. You know who has more points than Adam Fantilli as a rookie? Dmitry Voronkov. Yeah. Oh man, he's actually, I'm low key into this player. I mean, obviously the metrics aren't showing out crazy, but he's a beefer. He's huge. He's out there just crushing stuff, and yeah, I think he's like one of these real efficient players, out there. So I'd probably put him over Chinikov, but yeah, I like your
Skated 8 minutes and 55
don't
seconds
worry
tonight.
about that. All right. They were the most efficient 8 minutes you've ever seen. All right. That's fine. Don't bring me down. All right. That's fine. Let's move on. But you heard it here first. That's good stuff. Lots of good streamers there in Columbus. Let's move on. We got to talk about Dallas. You're looking there at Tyler Seguin, who's still crushing somehow. He's turning back the clock. Tyler Seguin, he's 43% rostered. Nice little stretch for him here. 4 points in the last 5. Very nice. He's on a 62-point pace this season. So that's a bit of a renaissance there for Tyler Seguin. I'm into it. It's weird what's going on in Dallas there, though. I don't understand, the deployment of the top line. Obviously, Jason Robertson is one of the main ones. You and I were talking about it a little bit, Nate. But what is your sort of take on Dallas in general and how they're deploying their forwards? Because guys like Seguin, Wyatt Johnston, Mason Marchment, these guys are popping off right now.
Yeah, I like what they've been able to find with that line there. But it does look to me like some of the underlying metrics are starting to trend in the wrong direction for these guys. So I think the hot streak may be coming to an end here. Um, yeah, if I was going to kind of put them next to some of the Columbus guys, then I think I'd still have Seguin and Johnson over all of the other Columbus guys that we just talked about, just because I feel like the deployment situation is a lot more stable, and I will at least hope that they stay hot here. But I am kind of foreseeing a little bit of the end to the hot streak coming maybe in the next few games here. So I'm not as thrilled as I was, a couple weeks ago.
Yep, absolutely. But they're out there. So Tyler Seguin, Wyatt Johnston, as we said, he's 37% rostered, and then Mason Marchment in deeper leagues at 4%. He's actually doing pretty well with his underlying metrics, but again, the deployment is going to be an issue there with Mason Marchment. All right, let's move on. We got to talk about Minnesota. How about that dingus Ryan Hartman coming back off a 2-game suspension? It'll be interesting to see where he lines up, right? Because they got Rossi on the top line there in the couple games with Jack Hines. Is Jack Hines? Is that his name? John Hines. What the hell's the man's name? Damn it. You don't know either? Oh, that's fine. Hines, Coach Hines. Let's go with that. That is perfect. But with in the 2 games they've had Rossi on the top unit there. So that's fine. But Hartman's back 24%. So let's see where he lines up. Jared Spurgeon is actually a really interesting player. 14% rostered, especially for this week with 4 games, 2 off nights. Like, I think you got to roster Jared Spurgeon. He's going to get some points. And I think the Wild are getting that new coach bump, right? They've put a couple wins together. They did look a little better. Like, maybe it's a little bit of a wake-up call for them mentally just to start sort of playing their game. So, he's quarterback in the top power play. You can't underestimate that. And at 14%, like, you're getting a quarterback for a pretty, it should be a good power play. I think that's a reasonable option. So I don't know. Anything on Hartman or Spurgeon there, Nate?
Yeah, I'm not super interested in Hartman at the moment just because, last game went pretty well, and I don't really see an obvious reason why they would want to go away from the top 2 lines that they had. So, that'd be my take right now. I'm not super interested in Hartman, but Spurgeon, just for power play exposure, sure. I'll do that for a week for sure.
Good old Johnny Hines. All right. That beautiful bald-headed
Did you
Adonis.
Google it?
No, I would never do. I don't Google it. No, it's off the top of my head. All right. Jack Hines, John Hines. I love your ketchup. All right. It's delicious. Let's move on. Marcus Foligno was out there, 12% rostered. This man has done nothing this season. Oh, he's really pissing me off. I drafted him in a Bangers Cats league that I have, and I thought, I got him later, obviously, but it was earlier than anyone would ever draft, Marcus Foligno, right? But in a full bangers with penalty minutes and stuff, I was like, yeah, this is great. Guy did nothing. He wasn't even getting penalty minutes. What are you doing? All right, but 12%, he's out there. Marco Rossi at 4%. Yeah, people got off the Rossi train pretty damn quick. but he's still getting top line deployment there. And I'm not sure if he's on the top power play. I'm just look that up. Nate, do you know?
No, he's not currently. Yeah,
Okay,
it's Zuccarello, Joel
right.
Eriksson Ek, Matt Boldy, and Kirill Kaprizov.
Beautiful. All right. So Marco Rossi, not as tantalizing as he once was, but being on the top line there at second power play, it's a nice place to be. And at 4%, that's pretty good. And then Marcus Johansson, Nate's favorite player, 3% rostered. Yeah. All right. He is. No, he's not on the top power play. Damn it. He's on the second power play. I can't even read. All right, but that's fine. So yeah, Marcus Johansson, Marco Rossi, they're both available, for cheap. All right. So let's move on. We got to talk about Montreal. The Canadians, Sean Monahan and Yurov Slafkovsky are your streamers there. That's getting pretty down and dirty. All right. Monahan was a nice story at the start of the season, but yeah, it's been a little bit rough with that player. He hasn't been able to kind of pop at the rate that he was. He's got a 46-point pace, but he's got 0 points in the last 5. He's still getting decent deployment, but yeah, it's Montreal, and I don't even think he's on the top power play anymore. So I don't know. Where are you interested in any players in Montreal there, Nate?
Yeah, Monahan's still on the top power play, but his metrics have nosedived. He's 300 plus in all his ranks across the board, pretty much. So, yeah, I'm not super interested. I don't know if there's something else going on there, but yeah, it would have to be a pretty dire situation for me to be interested in Monahan at this point.
What an inspiration Sean Monahan is. Well done to you, my man. And then Yaroslav Slavkovsky. Yeah, I think he's going to be a good player, actually, but maybe not this season. Anyways, moving on. Seattle Kraken. They released the Kraken, like we talked about, and then they put it back in. That makes no sense. Let's talk about Matty Beniers, who is out there, 39% rostered. Yeah, that's interesting for a Calder Trophy winner. 39% rostered his sophomore season. That's not great, right? But he hasn't really been doing anything. So it's just not a player I've ever been interested in. I wasn't interested in him last season, and again, this season I'm not interested. He's got a 41-point pace, 2 points in his last 5 games. No, all right, but he's actually getting reasonable deployment on Seattle. Just under 18 minutes in the last few games, just over 18 minutes on the season. So, that's maybe Dave Haxtell's trying to figure some stuff out, maybe play your best players every now and then and see what that does. But yeah, Matty Beniers is out there. Adam Larson, he's a beefer. All right. He'll get you what you need, hits and blocks. He does some shooting as well. A guy I'm interested in Seattle is the Jerk Store, Oliver Bjorkstrand. Yeah, this guy, I streamed him in a little while ago. I got him for that big game that he had. I think he had 4 points 4 points in a game. I actually had him, and then I ended up dropping him. But yeah, 5 points in his last 5. I don't know. Are you interested at all in this player, Nate?
Yeah, it's hard not to be like a 9-shot game against the Leafs.
Yeah, recently.
That's it's something to take note of anyway. Just that's within his range of outcomes for any given game. So obviously, off the strength of that, he's 19th in shots per 60 over the last 5. Again, getting close to 18 minutes a night here. So trending towards the top end of what's available to any Seattle player. And the on-ice stats look pretty good there too. 37th in Corsi, 4 per 60. Scoring chances, 4 per 60, up at 62. I think Seattle as a team is trending upwards in a lot of respects and their ability to generate chances. And so that's obviously a little bit exciting. He's been skating on a line with Yanni Gord and Eli Tolvanen. And Tolvanen's been hot as well. He's actually up and above 50% rostered, so he doesn't even make it into this segment anymore. But yeah, I think both those guys are kind of feeling it right now. And actually, in this last game, they kind of ran the power play with Bjorkstrand and McCann on it for the majority of the time, which makes Bjorkstrand even more interesting, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely interested in Bjorkstrand this week. And we also got Jordan Eberle, as you mentioned, and then Yanni Gord. Every time I hear Yanni Gord, I think about the piano player Yanni, and then I think about Office Space, where the guy's name was Michael Bolton, and he's like, why should I change my name? He's the one who sucks. And yeah, so there you go. Yanni Gord. Shout out to Yanni. Shout out to Yanni Gord. They're both beauties. Let's agree on that. But they're out there as well. They can do stuff for you. A couple more teams. Then we're going to get to business here. Got to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning. You're looking at Nick Paul, the 2 first name beauty, 23% rostered. And Sorelli as well on Tampa Bay is 2% rostered. Nick Paul is, I believe, still on the top power play there. So, I mean, that has some value, right? But he had a good. I streamed him in for the back to back they had last week and did nothing. It just pisses me off, but that's fine. It's a reasonable stream, right? At 23%, it's a no brainer.
Yep.
And then last team we want to talk about, Washington Capitals, the hat trick, Tom Wilson. Where did this come from? Damn. I really do believe that Wilson has a bit more to offer offensively. And I thought that once they kind of signed him to that big contract, I thought they were going to give him a little bit more opportunity. And they are. And that's probably why Washington isn't really doing that well this year. Hat trick for this man. That's excellent, right? In a category league, Wilson is 49%. I can't believe he's not rostered more than that, even just with people playing category leagues. That seems pretty low for Tom Wilson, a player that's getting power play time as well. So you got Tom Wilson there. You got Dylan Strome. Rasmus Sandin is a player I've picked up in a bunch of spots. And then Yevgeny Kuznetsov. Of those players, who are you interested in, Nate, of Washington?
Yeah, I mean, Wilson's obviously the headliner here, 5th in shots per 60, 12th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 across his last 5 games. He's doing the thing for sure. So definitely Wilson is the top priority. The other guys are really uninspiring, contributing to Washington's downfall more than trying to raise them out of it. I guess I would probably just roll with Kuznetsov for the extra deployment. He's been skating about 20 and a half minutes a night, which is obviously pretty solid stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's on that line with Wilson and Ovechkin, so maybe he just gets some points by being somewhere on the ice while Wilson and Ovechkin are doing things. That's what I'd hope for him.
Absolutely. There you go. All right. There are 4 teams that play 3 games and 2 off nights. We're going to rip through some of these. They are the Anaheim Ducks, Mighty Ducks, the New York Rangers, San Jose Sharks, and the Winnipeg Jets. 4 teams that have 3 games with 2 off nights. That's just to clear that up. All right. Anaheim Ducks, we're talking Troy Terry, Pavel Mintyukov, and Alex Killorn. Are you interested in any of these players, Nate?
Yeah, I'm still interested in Terry. Had one solid game now this week, and I need to see a few more, but I do still believe in the talent of Troy Terry. He's shown it to us for a long enough period now that I think this is just a really cold stretch for him, and it's concerning, but it's something that I do think he can snap out of, and I think the first sign of that was hopefully this last game that he had, so still have some love for Terry for sure. And Killorn has actually got some pretty nice numbers under the hood, which should be mentioned, so yeah, some good scoring chance generation. Minchikov, I think, is what he is, around 19 minutes a night. He's going to get power play 1, but he's not going to get primo minutes, and it's obviously still Anaheim, so he's probably going to end up somewhere in the 40-point range at the end of the season. He's still pretty solid as a back your roster 4th or 5th defenseman.
Yep, absolutely. Terry's killing me this year. It's been rough because I'm holding him because I'm with you. I'm like, I trust this player, but what the hell? Like the ice time has been a problem. But I mean, that last game that you said too, he had 21 minutes on ice. That's the type of Troy Terry I want to see. So hopefully he gets that. Moving forward here, moving to the New York Rangers. Basically, we're looking at Alexis Lafreniere. That's your go-to guy for the Rangers. He's playing on line 2, and they've been doing stuff, right? That's Panarin and Trocheck, and then he's getting power play 2 deployment as well. So I think you could do worse, right? He's a beefer. He's not doing it as much this year either with his hits, but that's still an option there. And then how about these San Jose Sharks, Nate? Damn. They're actually, it's been impressive. The Rolling Lines guys talked about Fabian Zetterlund, and they convinced me. I picked him up in 2 spots. I mean, real deep leagues, right? I'm not like, I got to go get Fabian Zetterlund, but I mean, they had 3 games in 4 nights. So I definitely got on the Zetterlund train, and it's been reasonable. I mean, he got an assist tonight. He's still getting big minutes. I haven't checked the metrics recently, but I mean, before he was shooting the lights out. So I'm low-key interested in that player. And then you still got Thomas Hertl out there doing stuff, right? That kind of pissed me off too. They had reports that like, oh, he's not going to play the game. Oh, he is going to play the game. He's not. So like I ended up dropping a player to bring him back into my roster. And then they said he's not. So I put him back in. Then I added another player, and then they said he's in. So now he's just sitting in my IR like a dingus. But that's fine. I think Hertl's, everything's going to be running through him. So I think those are both reasonable streams. Any thoughts on Zetterlund in particular there, Nate?
Yeah, well, first to be a wet blanket, if there was an assist, it's gone now. So he didn't end up giving you anything, but he is getting tons of deployment.
Yeah.
So yeah, 19, 20 minutes in a lot of these games. And he's had a couple of big nights where he's had a goal and he's had 6 shots, 7 shots. This last game, he put up 3 hits and 2 blocks against New Jersey. So yeah, he's at least doing that for you, if nothing else. So I do like that. Lafreniere, I will say, going back to the Rangers, the underlying numbers the last little bit are really strong. Um, yeah,
Nice.
didn't see this coming, but willing to ride it here, and maybe it sustains. Maybe Panarin is elevating him. Maybe that's what's happening. But 24th in individual scoring chances for per 60, 14th in scoring chances for per 60 over his last 5.
Bang. Yeah. And his shooting percentage in the last 5 is pretty low, 5.9. Like he's got some room to go there. Like if he can start converting, might be a nice little stream there. So I like that. Last team, I'm going to give you 3 players. You tell me who you like here. Of the Winnipeg Jets, we're looking at Nikolaj Ehlers, Cole Perfetti, Mom Spaghetti, and Gabe Velarde, the Velarde Party. What do you have to say? Who are you streaming from the Jets?
Yeah, so just to recap, it's Perfetti and Velarde on top power play in this last game. They took Ehlers off that top power play, but Ehlers
Horrible.
is currently on the top line with Shifley and Connor. So I guess he still has that going for him. Uh, Man, it's really tough to say. I want to say Ehlers, I really do. I really, I just really want Ehlers
Just
to
say it.
pop
Just
off.
say it.
And the last game, he had 19 minutes, 3 shots, nothing else going on there. Still 0 points his last 3 games. I'll say it. I'll say Nikolai Ehlers.
Buddy, I'm with you. Let's go. It's Ehlers season, everybody. We've been waiting for this. Top line, second power play. Yay. All right, that's fine. Shout out to Rick Bonus, that beautiful man. Okay. We got to talk about 4 board teams with 1 off night and 4 games. Chicago, LA, Nashville, and New Jersey. Real quick. Chicago, I am interested in this. I'm glad you put him on here. Anthony Beauvillier, the newest Chicago Blackhawk. He's been practicing with Bedard there in practice. He could get some run, right? They don't have anybody else. They're giving Philip Kurashev like 20 minutes a night. Beauvillier could get that with Connor Bedard and probably top power play. That might be a sneaky little stream. I don't know. Where are you at with Beauvillier?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Beauvillier get hot for a couple of weeks before when he went to Vancouver there. I don't think this is a player you need to get excited about long term,
Right.
but yeah, you could see a relevant stretch from him. And so, deeper league stream, I can get behind it.
Absolutely. Moving over to LA, we're looking at Quentin Byfield. He's 36% rostered on Yahoo. So yeah, definitely pick him up. I mean, for the 4 games played, that's nice. He's still looking good out there. Nashville, Gustav Nyquist, he's been great. I have him in 3 spots, and yeah, he's just pumping away, just pumping away. That's a giggity. Sounds that's fine. But yeah, he's just picks up assists randomly or a goal. Like he's getting reasonable deployment. He's on power play 1, and he's got access to that beauty, Ryan O'Reilly, who's popping the hell off. No, it's actually Philip Forsberg that we're talking about, but that's a nice little line, and they clearly have some chemistry. So I like Nyquist there, and for New Jersey, we're looking at Dawson Mercer. But because Timo Meyer's back, Mercer's relegated to the 3rd line, so some of that value has gone away. Of those players there, Nate, any comments on that?
Yeah, obviously, I've been in on Byfield. He had a really nice game there the other night. Yeah, I'm still in on Byfield. Had the 5 shots, jumped up to 18-10 in that loss to Washington. So that time on ice bump where he was more consistently 14, 15 minutes a night. If he can keep that going, that'd be really nice. I don't know how sustainable that's going to be. Probably not. But if he does get 18-10, he's got a ceiling much higher than a lot of these other people we've been talking about.
Beautiful. Nate, why don't you tell us the best players to stream ranked by the legend Nate Krutniblik?
All right, we'll rip through these pretty quick. We've obviously talked about these players already, but my top player for the week is going to be Jake Neighbors. And number 2 is going to be Sam Bennett. Number 3, Braden Shen. Number 4, Evan Rodriguez. Number 5, Torrey Krug. Number 6, I'm going to go with Oliver Bjorkstrand. And then number 7, Chandler Stevenson. Number 8, Patrick Laine. 9, Alexis Lafreniere. And 10, Kirill Marchenko. So basically, the way that I see this right now, I would say Neighbors, Bennett, and Shen are probably a top tier here. top three, you're going to get those three off nights from all three of these players. So I'm assuming you're probably going to get the same amount of games played from all three of these players. Yeah, I think Neighbors is on fire right now, and I don't see why I'd go away from that as the top stream option for the week. So Neighbors, then Bennett, then Shen, and then kind of tear down from there, go to Evan Rodriguez and Torrey Krug. Tear down once again, and you get into Bjorkstrand and Stevenson and Line and Lafreniere and Marchenko. Stevenson with the 3 games still gets a look from me, even though he's not been producing very well recently, but we've seen him do it in the past, and I think there's still a pretty solid chance that he gets moved around that lineup and gets back into a good spot. So that's the way that I would cook it up. I think the rest of these guys, like Bjorkstrand, I would have higher, but I think you're probably only going to get a couple games out of him for next week. Same with Line, Lafreniere, and Marchenko. I just feel like Line at some point is going to get more ice time. I just can't imagine that they're just going to hold this over him forever. This is a player that's going to outlast that coach. I don't think
Yep.
anybody wants to have him on their team probably at this point. His trade value is at an all-time low. Kekalainen has got to go before Laine's got to go. So I think there's like multiple hurdles that are going to have to happen. And so I think at some point Laine's going to get more deployment once again. And I think that'll be a boon. And hopefully it's this week.
Yep. Love it. No notes.
All right, let's keep rolling then. We'll talk about the hitters and blockers. For hits, I've got Sammy Blais, Paul Cotter, Keegan Colasar, William Carrier, Nico Mikkola. You're going to get 3 off nights from each one of these players. Sammy Blais just absolutely pumping hits right now, so definitely a top option there. For blocks, Braden McNabb, if he's out there in your league, he's an absolute king of block shots this year, learning from the best in Alec Martinez. But yeah, absolute king there. Then Ryan Graves, Colton Parayko, Nico Mikkola, Torrey Krug actually showing up here with some pretty good block shot numbers the last little bit. So he makes the list as well. Just one more reason to roster Torrey Krug. Any thoughts for the hits and blockers here, Blake?
No, I'm good, man. I love these guys. Sammy Blais. I wish he was getting more minutes though. He played like 6 minutes and 38 seconds last game. That's not too good.
Yeah, he's been up and down the lineup. Like he's
Yeah.
made his way
Yeah.
up the top and then all the way back down. It's kind of hard to say what his. He hasn't come out of the lineup, I don't think. I should probably fact check myself there before I do say that with my full chest. But yeah, he's been in the lineup the last 5 games, and every time he's in the lineup, like he has a 7-hit game here.
Yeah.
He's got 6-hit,
Beaver.
5-hit games. Like if he's in the lineup, he's going to give you hits. So definitely worth checking out there. So let's move on then and talk about the best players to add for the future. I still got Nick Schmaltz at the top of this list. I really can't get away from it. Then Quentin Byfield. I've got Owen Tippett getting back into this list. It's just meant the guy continues to shoot. I know that Torts is going to Torts and it's going to move around, but when he's getting perfect deployment, Tippett's going to pop. And when he's not getting perfect deployment, I think he's honestly good enough to stay in your lineup. So Tippett's going to make the list here now for me. And then I've got Josh Norris and Alexis Lafreniere rounding out this list. Had some people knock off from last week. I think Norris, he had 7 shots in the game here tonight. So I think that Norris maybe is finally starting to get untracked, hopefully. And yeah, I think Norris has shown in the past that he's definitely a player worth rostering and holding. So hopefully he's getting back to that. Lafreniere, as I mentioned, has some really nice underlying stats just the last little bit. So I'm willing to play with that and see how far it goes. Sub 20% roster, Sam Bennett still at 19%. That's going to change this week. So it's last call probably for Sam Bennett. If you want to roster him, I think you should. Top power play, playing with Matt Tkachuk. Tkachuk's about to pop off. All the things you said earlier, Blake, I think maybe they all come true this week and we get a sweet week from Sam Bennett. Sub 10% rostered, I've got Marco Rossi here. Honestly, it's not looking good for the sub 10% crowd. I had Kirill Marchenko here for a long time. He got bumped up to 25% this week with the Columbus schedule. So now I'm digging a little deeper and I'm going to Marco Rossi. Yeah, I think this guy is really just kind of feeling out what he can be in the league still, and maybe that results in a good week this week and a bad week next week. Maybe the bad week is this week and the good week comes the week after. Very well could be, but I do believe in the long-term evolution of this player, that he's going to be a good player in the league, so I'll throw him in here there. Your thoughts, Blake? Any of these long-term plays? Who sticks out to you? Anybody I missed?
Yeah, I like them all. I like that you threw Owen Tippett in there and your explanation on that. I think he does enough to warrant being rostered. But yeah, it's like a stash, right? Like if he starts getting
Mhm.
that deployment, then bang, we're looking at like a 60-point player maybe. But for me, like I'm just looking at the list here. I like Jonathan Huberdeau still, and he's 48% rostered, and I like Troy Terry, who's 42% rostered. So I'd probably take rostered. That's what I said,
Yeah,
rostered.
that's what I was gonna
He's
say.
rostered, man. Yeah, I don't know. That's terrible. But yeah, I would take Troy Terry or I'd take Alexis Lafreniere out of there and probably throw Terry or Huberdeau in there. Maybe even over Norris. I don't know. I think Huberdeau's gonna. I think he's gonna pick it up. He can't. He's putting some points on the board. He's getting some minutes. I think the ship is kind of turning around. Calgary's been playing better, and he's got to be a part of it, right? He's making big money over there, so they got to do it. So I don't know. Obviously the metrics are terrible, but come on, he can't be as bad as last year, can he?
Yeah, I hopefully he can't be. Nothing's going to surprise me at this point with Huberto and with the Flames. But speaking of the Flames, Noah Hannafin does top my
Nice.
list right now
What
for
a
the long
segue.
term plays. Yeah, elite segue per
Yep,
60 on this
that's big time.
podcast right here. But Hannafin had a monster game the other night. I think it was 14 shot attempts, if I remember correctly. Just huge game. He does this from time to time. They've been playing around with the power play units there as well, taking Rasmus Anderson off the top power play, and Noah Hanfin was there. Um, I don't know how long that's going to last for, but as long as he's there, I'm definitely interested in Noah Hannafin. And even when he's not on the top power play, he has been rosterable as like a fourth, fifth defenseman. So yeah, I'm really excited about Hannafin as long as he's on top power play in Calgary. And then I'm still thinking that you can probably hang on to him even if he's not there for the rest of the season. Second player here, Torrey Krug, who I've talked a lot about before, so I won't rehash any of that. Pavel Minchikov still on the list. Owen Power still on the list. I was telling Blake earlier, I forget who tweeted it, but somebody tweeted out that Owen Power is like sixth or seventh amongst all defensemen in 5v5 points this season. I do think Power is a pretty good defenseman overall, but obviously blocked by Rasmus Sandin, and he's not as much of a shooter, so he does have some limited upside outside of really points only leagues, but still worth noting here. And then I am still holding out a candle for Bowen Byram. I probably could have dropped him from this list, but yeah, I just
I
can't
love it.
believe what's going on. It's kind of like the Troy Terry of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
defenseman here is Bowen Byram, but yeah. Still holding on for one more week. Maybe this will be the week for Bowen Byram where he finally does something. Sub 20% roster, Jared Spurgeon, who we talked about, top power play in Minnesota, definitely should be higher rostered than 14%. Sub 10% rostered is going to be Cam York, who we also talked about a little bit earlier, top power play currently in Philadelphia. Not sure how long that lasts, but willing to take that shot for now because, yeah, we've seen it with Sandheim. That role can be pretty valuable. And Cam York, actually, I should mention as well, like getting plenty of deployment outside of the power play as well. Like it's not like he's not on the ice. It's definitely no Kalen Addison situation. He's playing on the top pair along with Travis Sandheim. So, yeah, love to see that for Cam York. Your thoughts on the defenseman here, Blake?
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, Byram. It's like sometimes you just got to go down with the ship. Hey, like I'm fine with it too because I like Byram a lot too. I hate what's going on. I've got him in a couple spots and I'm just hanging on. But I like Keandre Miller as well. He's not getting any power play time, so that is really going to cap his offense there. But he does a lot of other things. He's good, even strength defenseman, and yeah, especially for this week. Like I don't know if you want to roster him, but yeah, I might throw him in there over Bowen Byram, but I don't know, probably not actually. But he's out there.
All right, let's roll over to the goalies. Close this one out. Connor Ingram at 45% is going to be the top goalie. Elvis Leakins, 38%. And I threw in Alex Lyon here at 25% just to
Oh
give
yeah.
a hat tip to what he's been able to do the last little bit. I don't know if he's going to stick around, but like, I mean, would anyone be shocked really if Alex Lyon outplayed Ville Husso for the rest of the season? Like when Ville Husso outplayed Jordan Binnington for the rest of the season, nobody saw that coming. Would it
Yep.
be so shocking if that happened here? I'm not expecting it, but I'm at least saying it's a possibility here. So shout out to Alex Lyon for what he's been able to do. I'm pretty interested in both Connor Ingram and Elvis Merzlikins. Both these guys really showing out right now. I think Merzlikins is playing absolutely fantastic hockey right now, to be honest with you. And the only reason that I'm not having Merzlikins over Ingram right now is Ingram's been like actually on fire and actually getting the majority of work in Arizona now. So yeah, Merzlikins still going to be held down a little bit by Columbus, in my opinion. Columbus has just been so bad defensively. Arizona's been slightly better. So yeah, honestly, you could flip a coin with these two at this point. Maybe if you want assured volume, you might want to go with Merzlikins because there's nobody really coming for his starting role. And obviously, Melka has produced at points for the Coyotes. Definitely not this year, but has in the past. So I could see it either way. Ingram and Merzlikins, though, both very good zero G options at this point. Sub 25% rostered Charlie Lindgren. I was a little bit surprised that he was down at this level here, down at 24% rostered, but definitely I think he's basically in a full on timeshare with Darcy Kemper at this point, and he's been playing terrific outside of one game against Edmonton where he got 5 goals against on 30 shots, 35 shots, I should say. So yeah, I think Charlie Lindgren definitely going to be worth rostering moving forward. All right, Blake, goalies. Any thoughts? Do you love them? Hate them?
I love them all, actually. Yeah, this is zero G right here. Like all these guys, I'd be interested in. And one guy I want to throw in there as well, Akira Schmid. All right, this guy just got a back-to-back straight up over Vite Vanacek. They had a back-to-back and they played Schmid both times. Granted, he was terrible in the second game, but he was good. He was really good in the first game. So, I mean, this is a young goaltender who's, yeah, he puts together a couple good games, then he puts together some stinkers. So, but New Jersey's a good team. They're a good offensive team anyway. The environment for him might not be great, but yeah, I think the tides might be turning there a little bit in New Jersey. So it's just a goal you got to keep your eye on, right? Why would they play him a back-to-back? It doesn't make any sense. So unless they're going to kind of roll with him a little bit.
Yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye on there. All right, we've got to move on to the head-to-head streamer deathmatch.
Deathmatch.
And basically, this week so far is definitely up in the air still. So I got Marchenko. He's got 8.5 Cacuffle points in 3 games, so one left. Blake has Jake DeBrusk, who has 6.5 Cacuffle points, but only 2 games played. So he's got a couple games left there. Yeah, we'll see how that goes, and we will recap it for you on Sunday night. But for this week, Blake, I am told by the powers that be, I don't know why I'm saying that. That's me. But I'm told that you have the first priority for drafting a player for this week. So why don't you go ahead and tell us who your streamer is going to be?
Powers that be. That's a low-key brag right there, Nate, and that's fine. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna let you have your boy. I'm gonna take Sam Bennett Dyson. I gotta roll
Oh,
with my
yeah.
boy because I really believe in Matt Tkachuk. I think it's got to happen this week, and I really think that Sam Bennett is going to be the beneficiary of that, regardless. And he's top power play there on a great power play. It's not the St. Louis power play, so that's why I'm taking him over Neighbors. But I mean, Neighbors is a fine pick too, if that's who you choose to go with.
Yeah, we'll go with Neighbors. I'll stick to my ranks. Obviously, got the 4 games this week, and we will see how that goes. All right. I think we made it, Blake. That
We
was a
did
bit of a beefer, but yeah, there's a lot of options this week, which is kind of a refreshing change from how terrible the streaming schedule has been for most of this season so far. But if you have made it this far, you should definitely check out the Apples and Geos Discord server. Pop in there, come talk to us. 900 plus, closing in on 1,000 different fantasy hockey managers in there talking about fantasy hockey all day, every day. You should also check out the Apples and Genos Patreon if you need some help with your teams. For a low monthly subscription fee, you can get me to answer any questions you may have about your teams and about what you should be doing. And if you're here and you feel so inclined, we would love for you to throw a like and subscribe on the video. If you're listening, give us a quick rating, review on the podcast. All of that really helps. As we mentioned, it's been great to see the Spotify rap stuff come through and just be reminded of how great all of our listeners truly are. So we do appreciate you, and that's one way you can show that appreciation. Well, that's all we've got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value and helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which I'm told is a terrific free resource. Many
That's
thanks
true.
to the band there for supplying the music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.